am back.
Hey everyone, season 3, woo! Yes, season 3. If I had a party popper, I'd be popping it right now. Yes, finally, it's up and running, sort of. Videos are coming out. This is just an introduction, kind of like I say, of what I'm doing, what's changed from season 2 to season 3, things for the future, and maybe kind of as an introduction point for those who are new to this channel. Not everybody is going to have seen all my material from season 2, let alone from season 1, and, it's about just letting people know this is me, this is what I do, and if you enjoy, please subscribe and continue watching. So, what is this? This is The Broken Meeple. It is a game blog YouTube channel that I run personally. There's nobody else here, there's no cameraman, there's no extra lighting assistant or anything like that, or even another video editor. It's all just me. I do this as a hobby, this is not a job, I just do this on the side because I love board games, as you can plainly see, and I just like to talk about the hobby in general and give my viewpoints on things. Now, that's not to say that everything I say is, shall we say, positive, but, I am one of these people that likes to speak my mind. So that's why a lot of people watch these videos in particular. So if I really love a game, anything on my shelf here I really love, but if I love one specifically, I'm gonna sing the praises off the mountaintops about it. I'm going to go into big detail about why I love it, why it sings to me, why the theme's appealing, that kind of thing. But if I don't like a game, I'm going to do the exact same thing.
Oh, yes! I hate this! It is revolting!
Just in reverse. I'm essentially going to be like slagging it off, I'm going to be there won't be any actual vomit on screen, but there'll certainly be indications of, oh god, I hate this game, and there'll be frustrations, there'll be rants, and all sorts of weird and crazy antics. And that's just the way I am. Now, one thing on that note, the thing that I always tag on every single video, so much so that I've actually now made it my catchphrase for The Broken Meeple and put it on the start of every single intro that you'll see for this. Remember, it's only a game. It's the tagline I have for this blog, and it's just to remind people that this is just purely opinion. This is not me slagging off your taste, this is not me slagging you off as a person, this is not me saying, well, if you don't like this game, then you're stupid, or anything like that. This is just me giving my viewpoint. You have your own views, and that's perfect. You should have your views, and you should stick to them. Don't let people peer pressure you into thinking otherwise. But what the tagline is meant to say is, don't overreact. You motherfucker! Don't get your knickers in a twist. Don't get all hyped up about like, oh god, he hates this game. How dare he? Unsubscribe, hate him. I resign from the internet. Send. It just keep it calm, keep it civil, and just accept it's a different viewpoint. That's all it is. And it's kind of as a reminder to me in a sense. When I play games. Not that I'm like over exaggerating anything like that, but when I was younger, I played a lot of games with the family, and I will admit, I was a bit of a sore loser back then. It was sometimes a bit nightmarish to play games with me as a kid, because I would, if I was winning, I wouldn't be a bad winner, but if I was losing, I'd be crying out unfair and all this stuff, we're kids, do what kids do. Thankfully, I've now matured, and certainly, that doesn't happen anymore. But it reminds me that, when I'm teaching games, when I'm playing games with other people, and when I'm doing this blog, that at the end of the day, it's a game. It's just a box full of cardboard and plastic and resin, whatever other bits they now put into these games. And as much as it's fun, as much as it's great and everything, it's not the be-all or end-all of life's existence. So, it's just to take everything with a grain of salt and just sit back and enjoy the ride, as it were. So my blog takes multiple formats of what videos and, different outputs I do, as well as this YouTube channel that specifies on on reviews, compilation reviews, and top 10 lists and such. I also have a podcast that I do, usually on a monthly basis. I'm trying to get it down to a fortnightly basis, but of course I've got to think about my own personal life as well. But that podcast is purely just me on audio, talking about whatever I feel like talking about, really. However, I do have some segments that I'm going to try and do on a semi-regular basis. You know, some will be discussions, some will be like looking at games that I've had for a long time. Do they stand the test of time? That kind of thing. You know, the podcast is just an audio-only experience because I like listening to a few podcasts, and I know some of you do as well. The podcast will be on audio on SoundCloud. You can find the RSS feed for that if you just look on the site. And also it will be posted up on YouTube because I know that some of you have requested that the audio be put on YouTube because that's kind of how you get your content. That's fine, not a problem, but there's not going to be any fancy intros and stuff like that for that kind of thing. It's just, here's the audio file, go with it. So what kind of videos do I do? Well, the videos I do, there's too many it seems. I need to sort of cut down a little bit more on that later. But primarily I do free videos, and there's now going to be a fourth kind as well. There will be other things thrown in from time to time, whether I've got spare moments or as I'm experimenting with different features on YouTube, you know, like being able to do quick, almost like 5-second live videos where I'm just showing off a game that I've just got in the post, that kind of thing. I'm dabbling with that kind of thing. But primarily, you've got this. You've got single review videos. This is when I take one game and delve into it in detail. I look at every aspect of it, like the theme, the components, the mechanics, the value, the replay value, you know, the organization of the box inside, you know, all sorts of things. I get into detail about the game. Of course, I am trying to curb the length of these videos down because not everybody wants to watch an hour-long video about one game. So I am trying to curb it a little bit, and I'm going to use an anagram format, a bit like how, if you watch the Dice Tower videos, you know, Z Garcia, he does a target audience as his. I've got one for, you know, I'm still finalizing the slight details of it, but yeah, I'm kind of almost there with an anagram of my own, and the idea is that will help me to keep the video structured as well as keep it to a decent length. On top of this, there are anthologies. This is the new phrase that I've termed for my compilation videos. You'll know why I've called it anthology when you see the styling of the video itself, but, well, the intro anyway. And what these are kind of rapid fire reviews. As you know, this market is getting oversaturated with games. It's insane the amount of games that come out. It's just massive the amount that you get. And I can't physically play or review them all. It's not possible. If the Dice Tower can't do it, then how am I supposed to be able to do it? So what happens is if I get sent a bunch of games, whether on my request or just by request of, you know, Asmodee UK or kind of my primary support, shall we say, then I can't obviously do a single video on every single one because I've tried that before and I nearly hit burnout. So what the compilation anthology videos are for is to catch up. You know, is the game detailed or big enough to warrant its own review, or can it get enough plays that it deserves its own review, or is it just an expansion? You know, expansions will definitely go on the anthologies because I don't think a single video on an expansion kind of warrants it. Certainly any game that I can only play once or twice before I get around to doing a review of it will go on the anthologies as kind of first impressions because not every game is easy to get to the table, especially if they're like a 3-4 hour monstrosity. And sometimes it will be just games where the popularity I don't believe is going to be that big. You know, take last year, I was reviewing games like Blackout and Teotihuacan, however you pronounce that game, and what else did I do? Architects of the West Kingdom, you know, stuff like that. These were games that were hyped up, these were like praised, there was a lot of buzz, they needed their own review. There are other games where I sort of think, not everybody's really crying out for a full review on this game, but I'll put it in the anthology and talk about it briefly there, say 5 minutes on each. You know, I have to sort of think about how to keep my own spare time, you know, not hit burnout myself, and it just helps to talk about a lot of games in one video. You know, you'll be able to tell what games I'm going to talk about either on the thumbnail or by description in the video, so it's not like it will be a complete surprise, but this is just a way for me to try and keep on tabs. How many reviews I'll do in each one remains to be seen. But it's just going to vary depending on time of the year because we have a very seasonal trend when it comes to board game releases. We are now in the drought period, January, February and March, where not a lot comes out that's of major importance. But as you start getting onto Gen Con, suddenly starts stuff coming out, you know, the summer gets quite busy. Then it dries up again for a bit of the summer. And then when it gets to Essen, and sort of like a month before Essen and the 3 months after Essen, all the way up to the end of Christmas, oh my god, does releases start just spewing out of, publishers, out the publisher gates, and it just gets really hard to keep up with. So the compilation videos will help with that. Their frequency, it's just going to depend. There's no set guidance to how often I'll do them. It's just a case of how many games do I have to review. So also on there, third is the top 10 list. Ah, yes. If you're going to ask me what's my favorite video to do, top 10 list without a shadow of a doubt. I love making lists. I love watching lists. I do, I'm regularly watching watchmojo.com, for their top 10s. Dice Tower top 10 lists are hilarious as all get out. And I do a lot of them myself. And they're easily my most popular video. Because I have to sort of think, well, as much as I want to enjoy the videos, I need to get the views as well. I need to kind of justify things. And this links back to the compilation reviews, because some games that I review are going to get so buzzed that people want to watch the video. But, for example, I'm trying to think of one last year. I think I did one for a Catan scenario pack. And, the Seafarer scenario pack. And it's like, how many people were really that desperate to view that video? Compared to something like Brass Lancashire and Brass Birmingham, where everybody wanted to watch that review. So I have to tailor things a little bit. Top 10 lists though, oh my god, the views for them just skyrocket. They are easily the best thing I do, and I love them. With those, it's just me picking a category and doing my personal top 10. Now, more on this later, but if you're on my Patreon campaign, you have the ability to actually not only vote on what top 10 list you want to see that I've decided on coming up, but I will also ask you, if you're in a certain tier and above, to give me your number one for the list. And depending on how many votes go for a particular game or which one seems particularly good, I will pick one to make my Patreon choice and talk about it in the video. But yeah, top 10 lists, they're kind of what you expect. There's a category, there's 10 games, I talk about them, and the categories will be mostly weird and wonderful stuff. I'm going to do top 10 every year, and I do my top 100 every year, around the summertime. And there'll be normal ones like, say top 10 worker placement games, based on the genre or publisher, that kind of thing. But mostly, I want to do weird and wonderful ones. I want to do like top 10 obscure games. I want to do top 10 games I love to fail at. Top 10 games that I refuse to play with more than 2-3 people. I want to do weird, quirky ones like that, because they're more fun. They're more interesting, they're different, and you can't just guess what games are going to be on them. I mean, if I was to do, say, top 10 Space Cowboy games or something, there's only so many games by Space Cowboys, and you could probably guess they're going to be on the list in some respects. So I want the list to be, in some respects, not easy for you to just suddenly go, oh yeah, that's going to be as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I want there to be at least a bit of surprise. Not to mention a bit of open debate with people in the comments. Oh yeah, you like that game, do you? Oh, right, well my number 1 is this for X, Y, and Z reasons. And then we get back into debating. I love that kind of thing in the comments. So I encourage that kind of thing on my videos. Obviously, keep it civil, it's only a game. But you want to tell me what your top 10s are, your top 1s, by all means, stick them in the comments for people to see. And then the fourth video, which is a new video that I am going to do, maybe not until slightly further into the year, but I will be doing them, and that is solo walkthroughs. I still have to and ah with the mechanics of doing it. I only have the one camera that you're viewing me from at the moment, and well, a mobile phone. That's kind of the only recording footage I have. The mobile phone is on a gimbal device that can swivel and pan and that, but that's all I've got. And technically with a solo walkthrough, you either got to do it like Rado runs through and do it on your phone, just going like this and giving everyone motion sickness, or you do it with a fixed camera. But I've only got so much room here. I live in the UK. We don't have giant caves for, game rooms like a lot of the Americans do. Seriously, I am well jealous of you guys for that. And so I've only got limited space to put the camera equipment. So doing one or the other doesn't seem like it will work well, and I don't have the ceiling apparatus like some people do, because how? I'm not an expert on this sort of thing. So I need to try and combine the two, and we'll see how that goes. But it's something that's in the works, something I'm planning. So you're going to get reviews, Anthology reviews, top 10 lists, and solo walkthroughs. Should be pretty much enough content for you guys, really. Now, how often are these videos going to come out? Well, this is something I have to stick with I have to stick to my guns because I have come close to burnout on several occasions because this is a lot of work. It's fun, but it's not my job. I would love to be able to do this full time. If I was doing this full time and I was getting enough money from Patreon and support to be able to continue living my normal lifestyle without having to be on the breadline and that, I would happily give up what I do normally, which is a tax accountant, and do this for a full time. But sadly, that's not the case. So I was always putting out way too much content. I mean, you scroll down my videos I put down in 2018, and remember, it's just me in my spare time. That's a lot of videos. Let's look at a bunch of people out there who do some great content, but also do it as a hobby. Do you see anywhere near as many videos? There's a reason for this. Because we have lives. We can't put out too much. And I think that I went a bit overboard putting out too much content that I didn't need to. Now, those anthology videos are going to help with this, because I won't need to do so many different review videos. I can just do a lot of games in one big video. Great. They were popular. I asked for everyone's feedback and they went with it. Great. But this is kind of what I'm saying as a frequency thing. This is not set in stone, but I'm going to try and, marry myself to this structure as much as possible. Firstly, golden rule, no more than 2 videos a week. No more. And that's not to say there will be 2 videos every week. There may only be 1 video a week. The main reason? Just to keep myself actually sane. I was putting out sometimes 3 videos a week before, and it would be like 2 to 3 videos a week on average. When it got to my top 100, I was putting out those videos and reviews and top 10s. It just got a little bit mad for me. I just struggled to cope. If I can keep myself to a maximum of 2 per week, then that gives me a structure where I can do something like this. A review video every week, whether it's a compilation one or a single one. There will be a review every week. And then say on the 2nd week of the month, I will do a top 10 list. And then on the 3rd week of the month, I might do a solo walkthrough, for example. 1 solo walkthrough a month. And then on the 4th week of the month, I might do another top 10 list. So you might get something like anywhere between 4 to 8 review videos in a month. You would probably get 2 top 10 lists max a month, and you would get 1 solo walkthrough max a month. Now, that sounds like a lot of videos, and it probably still is, but it just means that I can keep the content to somewhere between 4 to 8 videos a month, depending on the market, depending on my spare time, my sanity, and hopefully just keeping to that kind of structure might just give me some flexibility. I'm not going to say every Tuesday you'll get this video and every Thursday you'll get this video, because life's very flexible, life's very chaotic. It's difficult to say every Saturday there will be a video. I know YouTube says this is a great way of getting more views and subscribers, but it's just not a realistic proposal to say this date, this video, because stuff just comes up. You gotta be prepared to be a little bit flexible. But I'm going to try and keep to that kind of structure, and hopefully that will still provide you guys with a decent amount of content. Let's not forget there's still a podcast on top. So this being season 3, what's the difference? I've still got the same backdrop, I've still got the same sort of equipment. Well, the main difference with season 3 is, like I say, the types of videos, the frequency, and some of the styling is going to change. Like using an anagram thing for the reviews and doing the anthologies. These are subtle differences from most of season 2, because I was dabbling with these ideas at the end of season 2, but they weren't really set in stone. They were kind of trial and error. But you will notice that there is definitely some improvements, I hope, in the intros, the outros, the transitions, the audio, the music that's used, and some of the photo quality, hopefully, even just the color and that. And the main reason for this is, with the help of my Patreon supporters, I've upgraded the software I now use. I was previously using Camtasia, which is okay, but it's pretty bare bones as a software. It's mainly used for tutorial videos, like online voiceovers and stuff like that. It's not really something you want to use for a proper video editing software. For that, I needed the Adobe Creative Suite, the Creative Cloud as they call it. Not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's done by subscription only. Thankfully, with the help of my very well appreciated Patreon supporters, I was able to afford a subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud. So that's Audition for audio, that's After Effects for, like intros and outros, that's Premiere Pro for the video editing, Photoshop for thumbnails perhaps and stuff like that. And as well as having that software, For the past month and a half, I've been going through a ton of Udemy courses on how to use the software. I haven't finished them all. There's a lot to go through. We're talking like 15 to 30 hours per course, and I've got at least 4 of them. But I've gone through most of Premiere Pro, I've gone through a little bit of Photoshop, a little bit of After Effects, and a reasonable amount of Audition. There's still more to learn, but I now have a fundamental grasp of how the software works. The more complicated stuff, obviously I'll learn as time goes on, but in terms of how to operate the software, how to stick files in, how to manipulate them, some tricks, some, basic effects, how to understand how to do lower thirds and things, that sort of stuff is now a bit more ingrained in my head with the Adobe suite, and hopefully you'll see some improvement in the professional video quality as a result. Not to mention that I now have more control over the audio, so hopefully the audio that's coming from my microphone on the stand there will sound a bit better, a bit more clearer, that kind of thing. I'll be able to cut out background noise a bit easier, so that's the fingers crossed. But also what I'm looking forward to do, and I can't really tell how well I'm going to do this until I've put some videos out and you give me the feedback, but color correction. I am basically in a room in my house with games behind me, a camera there, lights in different places, a window to the outside world over there. There's going to be some differences, as you can see in the picture, with regards to color and everything. Premiere Pro now gives me the opportunity to do some color correction, color curves, and tones and shadows, midtones, what's it called? Highlights, midtones and shadows, terms that I'd never even heard of before I did the courses. So hopefully it means that the video will just look a bit nicer, sound a bit nicer, and just generally have a bit more of a professional feel to it. Obviously, I'm not going to be like the world's best video editor here, and certainly I am just pretty much doing this as a hobbyist as opposed to anybody out there who is a proper photographer or a proper video editor and has like knowledge way beyond my comprehension. But hopefully it's going to justify the fact that we're now season 3, not season 2. Okay, obviously the main styling that will still stay fundamentally the same is I sit here, I talk about games, photos and bits appear on this side of the screen. I'll have physical games that I will just rip off the shelf and pull off the shelf, rip, and talk about in that sense. In terms of where some people like to cut out every little hesitation, every little and but, I'm not kind of in that frame set. I like the videos to be, what's the word? Organic? I like to do my videos and blog writing in a style where it's as if I'm talking to you in person. Like, forget all this camera equipment, forget everything. If it was just, I'm here, you're sitting there, and I talk to you about this game. I want the videos to be as I'm talking to you. So no weird cuts everywhere, apart from obviously if I need to take a drink or something, because I can only talk for so long. But that's my style. It's organic, it's just from the mind, it's just spur of the moment. I don't script everything, I don't have like a whole script of I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. Like some people do, and it works well for them, good on them. But I prefer to just say, look, this is the sort of stuff I'm going to talk about, these like little headers, some reminder points, and then just get out there and do it. It just makes everything just feel a bit more fluid, a bit more different, and it allows the passion of the board gaming hobby to come out more. I feel if you script everything too much, you struggle to get past the camera lens that you're passionate about this hobby. Because I find that when you script it too much, you sound a bit too robotic. It's too sterile, and it's not great for me when I listen to videos that do that all the time. I want people to show me this, like, you love this game, then you prove to me you love this game. You hate this game, then I want to see your hatred. I want to be like Emperor Palpatine, so like I can feel your anger. I want that kind of reaction. So, for the most part, you are going to see some changes between, one more. And this is probably going to, two things, really. Firstly, like I said, I'm going to keep the length of the videos down. I'm sure a lot of you will be pleased for that. But one big change I'm making, and this is a lot for my sanity. Introductions, as in the gag intros, are finished. What? They're done. I'm sorry, if you watch a lot of my Season 2 vids, you'll notice that I did these little comedy sketches before, and I'm not to say that they were all particularly funny. They were basically just to have an introduction before the the episode started. It's because I watch a lot of things like superhero shows and Doctor Who and various things and the Orville, stuff where you always have a little bit of an introduction and then it ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger and then you get the music to psych you up. I mean, Star Trek did that as well. Every Next Generation episode, you watch a little bit of an intro and then it's like dun dun dun, and then the thing starts. I always like that, so I tried to do that for my videos and it was hit and miss. It required some animation and video editing stuff that I just didn't have the expertise for. And the biggest problem I come up with those, twofold. Firstly, trying to think of a gag. It's difficult to think of anything funny with certain games. Some games just write themselves into a gag because of something stupid they've got in it, or a major reaction I have, or just this one aspect that everybody pokes fun at. But then there are some games where I'm like, what on earth can I say that's funny about this? This is this bone-dry Euro that's all about tracks and point manipulation. What am I supposed to say? There's only so much I can do. And secondly, sanity and time. When I thought about how long it takes me to do videos, I was getting top 10 lists done relatively quickly. I've got them into a structure that I'm used to. It's like introduction, transition, number 10, talk, 9, talk, 8, talk, 7. And it just seems to work. With reviews, it was a bit more flexible, so I'm hoping the anagram will help structure it a bit more. But the longest thing that ever took time on any video that I ever had to edit was the intro, the gag intro, because they were always different. They always required something weird. Sometimes I had to spend ages thinking about the idea, and then when I wanted to put it into a video, it took forever to edit. It's got to a point now where it was hard to decide. I've asked for feedback and some people say keep them, some people say don't worry about it. We've not, not like, oh, I hate them, but they're kind of like, sorry to see them go, but it's not the end of the world. That's not what we watch your videos for. And some love them to bits. I had to take a stance. I've had to cut them. So as soon as the episode starts, straight into the musical intro, straight into the review, get going. It's sad to see them go, but they had a good run for season 2, but I just gotta make the call, cut the time of the editing as much as possible, and hopefully the video content will still be good. There's still going to be movie clip memes and stuff like that I'll throw in.
Of course!
That won't change, because personally, I find them more interesting than the weird introduction for these. Like where randomly some clip from a TV show or movie comes through to illustrate a point or just to throw in a gag every now and again. Those will stay. I'm happy with them. But the intros, they had to go. So I mentioned about feedback. Well, I'm definitely interested for people to give their feedback on videos. I like reading the comments, especially when they're fun, interesting, or informative, and I try to respond to as many as I can. I can't guarantee I'll get to them all. I usually have to sit in front of my PC and go, I'll just sit down on YouTube Studio and respond to a bunch of them in bulk. Sometimes I can access them on my mobile phone, but I can't be in a social situation and constantly on my phone all day. I need to kind of socialize, as part of the natural progression of life. But, I try to respond to as many as I can. That being said, if you're going to just be there to troll, just move on. That's all I say, really. When I started, I used to get a few trolls who were basically like, you don't like this game, well then your opinion is invalid, you are a horrible person, I hate you, and I hope you insert death by really horrific memes or something. I mean, trust me, I've had some weird stuff come through, and these are people who just don't remember it's only a game. And they're few and far between. These are like a few moldy grapes in an otherwise nice box of delicious fruity goodness. Weird metaphor. I'm kind of like that. But it's a case of like, if you're gonna just be there to troll, just move on. Go to some other video, go to some other thing, and vent your frustration out in some other way. Have a stick of gum, something. To go to the gym. Find some way to vent out your frustration rather than waste your time posting on a thread. It just doesn't seem worth it. But those of you that like to put in cool comments, then I love to read them. If you're just there to troll though, I guarantee if you're there to troll, you're going to get banned. It's just going to happen. I will read the comment, I will push it past my system, I will move on, and you will be banned. So, this is a final warning on such behavior. I certainly, obviously, I try to be family friendly. I do my best not to swear. I try to keep things relatively civil, but some things will come through. Consider myself PG in terms of a rating. But certainly, I will not take any kind of discrimination for race, gender, age, gaming level. Any kind of discrimination is not tolerated on this channel. I do not do any of it myself, and certainly if I see any of it in the comments, that's going to result in deletion. So, do not go down that path. And finally, before I wrap up this little intro, I just want to talk about how you can find me. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page for The Broken Meeple. On Twitter, @TheBrokenMeeple, you can find me. And a lot of this information is going to be in the end credits to this. So, if you can't follow this, then just read the end credits. It'll all be in there. But, so Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Instagram as The Broken Meeple. I don't use it that often, but occasionally if I take a photo of a game and I think it's a very nice looking game, I'll put a filter on it and stick it on Instagram as a nice thing. It's not a platform I tend to use very often, but I do see some good stuff on Instagram and I do get comments on there. So I'm trying to use it more and more. Obviously I have this YouTube channel. You can see it. You're obviously watching it. SoundCloud.com is what hosts my podcast. So if you want to check out more about those and subscribe to the feed, just go to soundcloud.com, type in The Broken Meeple, and you should be able to find me easily enough. Failing that, use an app like Podcast Addict or something, and you should be able to find me as well. On top of that, you can also check out my actual blog itself, www.brokenmeeple.blogspot.co.uk. This is my official blogger page. It has not only links to the YouTube channel stuff, the podcast stuff, and various other things, it also has occasional written reviews that I'll do, which are, again, to mitigate my time. They are less common, but it's kind of like a central hub of everything. So if you want to keep up to date with everything I do on every platform, I recommend following that site, or at least keeping it in your bookmark somewhere so that occasionally you can just check it and go, oh yeah, he's got a new YouTube video out, and oh yeah, he's released the next podcast episode. It's there, it's a hub, and it just does the job as a very basic website. And finally, the Patreon campaign. I don't like to ask for money for people. It's I feel a bit uncomfortable doing it, but a lot of content creators do it, and it's kind of a necessity, especially when you do it as a hobby. I want to grow this channel. I want to get better at the editing. I want to get better equipment. I want to be able to do more for you guys, because this show is it's for fun, from my perspective, but it's also on behalf of you people as well. And so I have a Patreon campaign set up because I've never really fathomed that I'd be able to do anything interesting with Kickstarter. And all it's there is to help fund the channel. None of it goes into my own pocket. It is purely doing things to fund the channel. And it's in its early days. It's not exactly flooding with income, but it's given me enough to not only host my podcast, because that costs money to do so. It's also allowed me to subscribe to the Adobe suite so I can get the software in that to make season 3. Again, very much appreciated. It's helped me to upgrade certain aspects of my hardware equipment, some cheaper stuff like new camera light batteries and stuff like that. Obviously not quite enough for a whole camera, but it's every bit helps. And recently, with some of the Patreon income, I've managed to, as a kind of bonus, subscribe to motionarray.com. It's a website that has lots of templates for After Effects, for Premiere Pro, royalty-free music, transitions, lower thirds. It doesn't, unfortunately, have stock photos. That has to be a separate thing, which I don't have. But it certainly has a lot of useful stuff that I've been able to put into these videos. The intros that you see are partially templates that I've tweaked and edited for my own purpose. But it certainly helps me to cut down a lot of the editing time, and it's a very useful resource that will help to grow this channel more and more. But there are more tiers for, what goals I'm looking at. I want to be able to upgrade hardware. I want to be able to upgrade software if necessary. I want to maybe get a proper website. I want to be able to buy games by your request, like by Patreon requests. Like, is there a game you've wanted me to review or an older game you want me to talk about? Well, then the Patreon money can be used to fund a purchase of said game, and then I review it, give you the video you asked for. If I keep it, it goes in the collection. If not, I donate it to a local board game cafe, like in my example, Dice Portsmouth and Board in the City are my 2 local ones. So if it's a game where I go, I've reviewed this video, it's okay. I've reviewed this game, it's okay, I don't feel like keeping it though. I will literally just give it to free to one of those cafes, and then other people can enjoy it as well. So it's stuff like that. I mean, pipe dream, I'd love to be able to earn enough on Patreon that I could actually fund doing this part full time. But yeah, that's kind of a pipe dream. No, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But certainly every bit helps. And I would much rather have how many people subscribe to this channel? 4,700 plus at the moment. I would love for 4,700 people to pledge 50 cents or $1 each a month. It's a pittance money, you wouldn't even notice it going, but 4,000 people, pledging $1 is better than having 100 people pledge $15, $20 a month. Because one, that's money that they've got to pay out of their own pocket, it's harder to support, but also if one leaves, it's a big chunk out of your income. So having the Patreon there is not something like oh my God, yes, give me all your money. It's just every little helps to keep this channel going, because a lot of the stuff, the hardware to begin with, the original software I had, a lot of games that I've done for review have come out of my own pocket. I get review copies from Asmodee now and again, but for the most part, it's my own money that goes into this. So the Patreon just helps to mitigate some of that by putting in stuff that you guys want for this channel, and so I can grow it in the way that you want. What do you want to see? What do you want it to turn out like? I take your guys' feedback, and I try to get my Patreons involved by saying that, if you subscribe to Patreon, you can send me questions, and I'll do Q&A videos, maybe something like that, or Q&As on the podcast. If you, as a Patreon, you can send me those. You can also vote on top 10 lists, like I said, and submit your choices. And as time goes on, you'll be able to, do other things as well. So it's stuff that's in the works, and, I encourage you to visit the page, just check it out. And if you can spare $1 a month, then please do. Every little helps. But again, I don't like asking for money, but it has to be there, and somehow I've got to do it. So that's it from me. This is just basically kind of like an intro video to the Broken Meeple. What I do, how I talk, what my style is, what's to come, the standard of the videos, basically everything that I feel I need to get down and set in stone before I kick off. So thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check me out on one of my other platforms, and until then, season 3 is here, and I'm here to stay. So I hope you enjoy the content that I'm going to put out over the next year or so, depending on how long season 3 lasts for. I tend to just make a season as long as it needs before any massive changes happen. So, when season 4 will happen, maybe this time next year, who knows. But for now, just thanks, take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game.